Good morning. Good morning. It's a hot ass day here in Detroit. This is Detroit in black and white. I made Adolph Mongo. Good morning, Vanessa Moss.
Good morning. Good morning to all of you Detroit black and white viewers. If you're watching us today on YouTube, we'd like for you to like, subscribe, and share. You can catch us on all platforms. You can catch us on Instagram, Facebook. Deadline Detroit even has a website that has all of these platforms. Apple. We want you guys to listen, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much.
Allan Lengel, co-founder of Deadline Detroit. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, listen, we at McShane, Michigan, in Trumbull. Beautiful day, hot as hell, but I'd rather be hot than cold. Is that right?
I don't know. This heat is so oppressive. The other day, I had to go to court, and I used to take the people mover and walk, right?
Right.
So I did that and then walk back. And you're a walker as well.
Yeah, I walked yesterday.
And then I got a call to go back to court. I'm telling you, the heat beat my butt so bad, I went home and went to sleep. It's so oppressive.
Well, I walked downtown from Corktown early,
right.
And it was nice. Then when I came back, but before I walked back, I said, let me stop somewhere and drink a lot of water. Shit.
Huh.
By the time I got down to Corktown, I'm like, my old ass was like, I'm about to fall out. I had to stop at James Oliver to get water. It's like I was on the desert. I was like, but it's like I lived in Phoenix, and we ain't seen hot. And people say that's a dry heat.
I've been 115
as well.
Right. Right.
But guys, did you see that storm that came through the other night? I was in Beverly Hills yesterday, south of Beverly Hills. It was so many trees.
There were a lot of.
Well, you know what? And I was.
All of that. I mean,
I wanted the storm, but not like that. You know, because
but it didn't do anything. It's still humid. It's still hot.
Yeah.
It's sticky.
Yeah, but you know what? And they say it's no global warming.
Right.
Well, anyway,
absolutely.
Let's get to the point.
And we're not even in July.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Vanessa.
Yes.
Your outrage of the week.
You know what? I try to contain myself, and I try to. I believe in taking accountability. I represent people. The first thing we do if we've done something wrong is we take accountability for our actions. So I guess you guys are saying, what are you getting to? I am pissed off. I am really pissed off that we've had all these contests for candidates, and that, of course, my name is not going to appear on the ballot. I had over 5,000 people who said, hey, we have confidence in you. We want you on the ballot. And because of a nuance, and I'll take accountability that I didn't know about this nuance.
And
it wasn't the nuance I was supposed to put incumbent. See, mine was a bit different. My story is a bit different than everybody else's. I didn't just come out the gate. When I started running, you look on the Secretary of State website, you see that the only two seats were incumbents, and these were incumbents that was just appointed by the governor. One incumbent didn't file, so I started collecting signatures for that race.
Right.
And then I find out later on that there was a regular seat that was open, but that person actually filed in the wrong race. So he was an incumbent in the race that I was initially going to run in because there was no regular seat.
Right.
So it's just a big mess. So you would have to not only do you have to get all these signatures, you got to look out and see whether or not they're fraudulent signatures, which means you're going to have to get a handwriting expert or have somebody that works right there at the Secretary of State. We know that's not going to happen. Then 3, you need to have somebody that's on your team that you got to pay that is an expert in election law. And even with that, you still don't know whether or not you're going to get ruling.
What did the appeals court say?
So the Court of Appeals court said.
I sent
a text to Adolph. What was that? Yesterday or day before
The day
yesterday? And so
here it
there's so
is.
many. Yeah.
It says a Michigan Court of, and somebody else told me this, a Michigan Court of Appeals panel has expressed concern that judicial candidates are weaponizing the complexity of Michigan filing requirements to eliminate their competition, with one judge commenting that contests for vacant judgeships all too often have turned into the Hunger Game. In other words, they don't want to have an election. They just go hire somebody. Say Eric Brown is a shit starter in the community. He likes to get people off the ballot.
Yeah.
But
So
listen,
they go hire him, and he go find that font. That font is not big enough,
right?
Or you didn't put a period here, or they making people go to the Supreme Court spending all this money to stay on the ballot.
Right.
They got to do something. They got to make some changes on this, or you know what? It's chaos right
but
now.
You know what really pissed me off is, and I'm going to say this. Listen, I applied for a judgeship, right? I got all the way to the top. I didn't get it for political reasons. But you go through a much more strenuous process. That asks you about your credit. That asks you if you had any criminal records. That asks you if you've been married, divorced, everything. Okay. But to put your name on the ballot, all you have to do is collect signatures and make sure the font is right. Wait. Make sure the font is right. Make sure that you have all this information and people not stopping there reading it, right?
But
you got to do all of
you didn't tell the whole story,
no,
Vanessa.
What?
The whole story is when Vanessa applied for a judgeship up in Lansing, got a call that said that she is they're gonna, she's gonna get picked. But then at the last minute, it's politics, that when people say politics. Somebody came in at the last minute and they had a push from the same preacher pimps that's always been down here in Detroit. So you know what? And they got their person, and it's just.
So this is the thing, though. I want to be selected by the people, okay? And so there's been a roadblock put in place. And so I'm running as a write-in. Now, there are some people that I'm pissed off because they're people, and listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I find it quite strange that because a Black woman, right, in the city of Detroit decides that she wants to do a write-in, oh, you shouldn't do that. That's going to be hard, blah, blah, blah. But we had a mayor who did a write-in. And listen, somebody wrote on one of the when they voted for him, they said that white man. Now that does not spell Mike Duggan. But I'm just saying. So it's just and again, I just want to compete.
But I don't
know if I'm going to prevail or not. But the fact that you can do that and you can hire a hack like Robert Davis, who is a convicted felon who still owes money to Highland Park Public Schools that no longer exist. That you listen, if I throw a rock, I'm not gonna hide my hands. I challenge you because you didn't do this, that, and the third. Instead, you're gonna hire somebody and hide your hands. And that's it. That's it.
Yeah. Well,
and you really tell us how you really feel.
I mean, it is a challenge. I mean, the thing is, Duggan. Yeah, I mean
the media. Listen, Allan. He had a brand, but the media every fucking day had a story in there how to do a write-in, and I ain't mad at them. But I look at it in Alaska. What's her name? Lisa.
Murkowski.
Yes, she ran a write-in, but she had a name. But it was hard. How you spell her name?
M-U-R.
You're right. Charlie Wilson, congressman out of Ohio. They they got him off the ballot on a
Joe
technicality.
Lieberman ran. I can't remember.
Yes.
I don't think
Yes, he won.
Did he win?
Oh,
Yes,
did
he
he
won.
I don't
Yes,
think he won.
and yes, he did as an
But
independent.
as he's
So people can win write-in votes. We had a mayoral candidate in Detroit in 1925 that ran and won, but they disqualified him as a write-in because they spelled Bowles wrong 5 different ways or 10 different ways.
Right.
But it's like this. We got people that sit in office and they don't like people politics instead of just doing what the right thing and says, you know what, how can you disqualify one candidate for signatures and keep this candidate, and they both had the same people to get
Collect
the
the
signature.
signature.
Right. So how can those folks that gather signatures was frauds,
right.
and then they wasn't frauds on this. But anyway,
But you were saying that the I think you were getting ready to say that Mayor Duggan had a brain.
Right.
And
he held public office. I mean, he was a prosecutor. He ran DMC.
Yeah,
but
the media showed people how to do it right in. Every time Tom Barrow filed, Duggan did everything wrong. 30-day requirement, didn't get enough signatures on the ballot, and it was a perfect storm. It's just like when Obama ran for state senate, U.S. Senate. He had a candidate that tried to get his wife from the Star Trek to be in a swap club, and she came out on him, and so he had to drop out. And then they go get Allan Keyes from Maryland to run against him.
Yeah.
It's gotta have a perfect storm. But anyway, let's go to you.
Well, we've seen a lot of perfect storms in politics.
Right.
Mine is, we had the Supreme Court ruling on the guns, which was great, which was the appropriate one, saying that people who have domestic violence cannot own a gun. It was 8-1, and Clarence Thomas is the sole dissenting vote there. And you have to use in a case like that. I mean, not only do you go by the law, but you have to use common sense. And sometimes there's a technicality there that you can, vote against, like Clarence Thomas did. But the reality is, there was common sense. It was so practical. 8-1. I think he's a disgrace to the court. I think his wife had been involved in all the, steal the vote stuff, trying to overturn stuff. He won't recuse himself. He failed to report all the tricks he was taking from this wealthy Republican donor. I don't know where,
He bought and paid for.
Yeah, and a couple of the legislators have written to Judge Roberts to say, hey, what are you doing about this?
Nothing.
And the Supreme Court is like, hey, we're a separate branch, branch of government. Right. You can't fuck with us. But it's our court. It's not their court. It's not they're just. It's like these owners who buy these baseball teams and the hockey team. It's their team, but it's our team too. We have it's like people who buy Eastern Market, all the property there. Yeah, it's your property, but it's our jewel of the city. And the Supreme Court is our court. It's not their fucking court. And they think they can do whatever the hell they want. All the other judges, the federal judges, have ethical standards. The U.S. District Court judges, the Federal Court of Appeal judges, all have standards and ethics. And they have rules. I'm not saying they all have ethics, but there are rules. And the Supreme Court thinks they're above it all. And I think it's a disgrace.
But did you notice in the opinion that they were very specific about why
they did
it?
Right.
So I mean, it's a win, but it's a very.
But I don't
care.
care.
Should celebrate a win because it's a small win.
A win is a win.
But
well, it's like right now. I mean, look, we're still waiting to hear about whether Trump has immunity. I mean, the reality should be they need to rule on that specific
But they
case and
not.
say,
But they
yes,
not. But
they
they
want to
not.
do this grand thing,
They not.
and they're
They not.
they're
They not.
messing around.
They not.
It's
They not.
they're overstepping.
Now, and I'm gonna be quick. Valentina Gomez out of Missouri, running for Secretary of State, a 25-year-old immigrant from Colombia. Got a green card. She running for Secretary of State as a Republican in Missouri. So said Negroes need to go back to Africa. Gays ain't shit.
Did you say what?
She said black folks need to go back to Africa.
I saw something like that.
Listen, in that straight white men built America. We don't need reparations. She just went off and said, you don't like America. All the black people need to just leave. Bitch, go back to Colombia with the cartel. Because Colombia is a shithole. It's a shithole. You come here and talk all this smack about, you know what? America is the greatest country. Yeah, it is. That's why you here. But you telling people that's been here, and she's saying, you know, they didn't build nothing. You know what? As far as slavery didn't mean shit. So she's 25 years old. She don't know, but here we are.
And she doesn't know. Brain science says that we don't mature to the age of 26. I just find it interesting that, and I'm sure she's getting a whole lot of traction. Might be Pablo Escobar,
niece.
People,
who knows? Who knows? So. We got to take a break. We went over. Yeah. We need to take a break.
What's on your mind?
What are the issues facing you and your families today?
Before we ask for your vote, Alyssa Slotkin wants to hear about your concerns.
Democrat Alyssa Slotkin is running for U.S. Senate, and she wants to have a real conversation about your issues.
Is it support for our small businesses, funding for our schools, good-paying jobs, or opportunities for our youth?
Alyssa is already building a campaign around listening.
It's how she shapes her agenda in Congress.
And why Alyssa's already been endorsed by small business owners, pastors, and leaders from our community.
We know too many campaigns come to us right before the election and ask for our vote.
That's not Alyssa. She has a reputation for listening and delivering.
And this is your chance to help shape the agenda in Washington.
Make your voice heard. Go to alyssaslotkin.org/community.
Because in this campaign, your ideas come first.
I'm Alyssa Slotkin, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Slotkin for Michigan.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Okay, we've got Ed Sarpolus here. We are.
Ed, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I just want to comment. We have a mayor just north of Detroit that's been done a write-in race. The last 3 times he's gotten elected is because he was a write-in 3 times in a row.
Yeah. All right. So Ed is a pollster. I want to vouch for Ed as being in the 2022 election. Ed did a lot of polling, and as a matter of fact, the Andy Levenkamp got very mad when Ed came out with the poll showing Andy 20 points behind in the primary. And they called me and said, this is bullshit, and this is a lousy poll, and blah, blah, blah. And he won, Haley Stevens won by about 20 points. And Ed predicted a lot of other races that were very accurate.
Well, Ed, you know what, Ed, you know, a clock is right at least twice a day, right?
That's true. That's true. But what Allan forgot to tell you, I did that 12 times in the primary for 2022. The clock can't be right 12 times in a row unless you never fall asleep.
Well, you know, listen, Michigan is up for grabs, right?
Yes, it
Democrats,
is.
are they in trouble?
Well, the problem is this is a repeat of 2016. There's probably about 10 communities in Michigan across the state will determine the election. It's coming down to turnout, okay? It's all about turnout, who stays home and who shows up at the polls. In 2022, 250,000 Republicans stayed home that voted in the previous the governor's race. It's coming down to turnout. And you go around the state. I thought it was kind of funny. Todd Spangler commented on a poll from the Free Press about how blacks are moving back and forth and whatever like that. The black vote was as high leaning Republican 4 years ago, but they still came home in large numbers in Michigan. So the bottom line is all coming down to turnout and people talking to people. Okay. Looking at the ad that you just had on Lisa Slotkin. Okay. She spent little time in Michigan and Detroit, but she acting like in that ad, like she's doing it all the time. It's just a recent occurrence, but she's trying to reach out to those people like on the last minute.
And so, Ed, when you talk about 10 cities, tell us the top 3 that both sides should be focusing on.
Well, there is a city, and I'm not going to mention individual cities because I'm going to put out a report on it. So you got one in Saginaw. It's a combination, and part of Saginaw is Republican, Democrat. There's there. You got a couple of communities. You've got in Oakland County is be very big, and you got one towards like around the Jackson area. Those are the small communities. As a matter of fact, if you go back to 2004, it was Niles, Michigan, that predicted how Michigan was going to go within 0.5%. So you have to look at the communities where people actually vote regularly, and that's how you can determine it. So I'm doing polling going back in history. There was a few cities that make the difference because we already know about Detroit and other communities, but it's those people where there's people that are not either Republican or Democrat, or they're right in the middle in the small communities that determine this race. As a matter of fact, and also in 20, we forget in Oakland County, the reason why that went more leaning Democrat because 9% of Oakland County is Indian. The Indian community is what made Biden actually improve his chances in Michigan because of the large turnout for Indians for Democrats.
And what about the Middle East war? What's the impact here in the Arab American community?
Well, you have to go back there again to 2000, where Al Gore not meeting with the Arab community in Detroit cost him the election in Florida. There was no impact in Michigan by the Arab community, but the vote, which is very close, happened in Florida, is where that hurt him. If you look in Michigan, the vote against Biden amongst Arabs who are sitting on hands is no different than it was in 2016. I shared a report with you, Allan, a couple of months ago. In 2016, Hillary Clinton got 4,700 votes, and Bill Biden in the presidential primary got 4,300 votes, almost identical to 2016. Bernie Sanders got 7,000 votes in the presidential primary, and Dearborn. Biden got 63. An income non-committed was 6,200. Basically, there's no change between 16 and 17. It's just as the Bernie Sanders voters are showing up again as being the uncommitted vote, the younger vote that needs to be talked to as they were in 16 and other races.
Well, is the visit by Trump, is that going to make a difference in Detroit? You know what? Because I think that's disinformation saying that because he came to a Jack Lay preacher church, that they was going to get all these black votes.
Well, we've had that story before when Michigan Chronicle endorsed John Engler. Okay. And there was a nice large donation from the Republican Party to the newspaper. The bottom line
but it was different, Ed, because Howard Wolpe wouldn't even come and interview with the Chronicle, and John Engler did. So,
well, John Engler, yes. Well, John Engler, yes. Well, what
Sam Logan did.
Yeah. Well, you got to understand that back when John Engler was doing that, the black community is very conservative on many issues. One is crime and on welfare queens. Okay. That's what basically got John Engler vote. As a matter of fact, John Engler got pissed at Bill Clinton and said Bill Clinton used the same message as he did on the welfare queen. If you go back to the 92 and 96 election, John Engler appeared to the conservative side of the black community and families. Remember, it was the blacks that first came out against black parents not taking care of their kids in that Macomb County case. Okay. So that's what Engler, but John, the problem with Trump, you looked at all the TV coverage as white people in that building where he's supposed to be all the blacks. Okay, there was again the same thing he did with the union thing like that. No, it's not going to be a lot of movement from Trump coming here because it was unbelievable. There was no grassroots structure there. Will it help some of the people, the blacks that have left the city? And Macomb and Oakland counties where you're going to see many of the more black males leaning more Republican, but not Wayne County. It's more of the suburbs where the black community is leaning more Republican.
Go ahead.
So, Ed, when you do the polling, how do you designate? Oh, this is the population of blacks that we're polling, the population of white males, the age groups, etc. How do you create that pie, if you will?
Well, first of all, when I do a representative sample of the state, I know what percent of the vote is coming from Detroit. Okay, so my sample has to include that percent of the Detroit. Then also what I look at is the fact what percent of the vote is going to be black. Okay, so then I have to be sure that when I'm looking at my final result, do I have enough African Americans? I may have to oversample African American because a lot of them one may not answer polls until later, close to the election. So I have to build that into the sample design. Okay. The Census Bureau does the same thing when they pull a census. You know, they don't talk to everybody in the city. They do representative samples sometimes for numbers. So the poll is based like the Census Bureau. Is it representative of the people that vote? I have the complete voter file on my laptop. Everybody that votes, I've got that in my laptop. In most cases, I know their ethnic background, their cultural background. And so that's how I designed the survey for that. And then it's all stratified and random. You know, for example, I don't ever call Adolph because I don't want him on my sample. I'm just kidding you, Adolph. But the point being is it has to be representative of the state that you're polling. And sometimes what you have to understand is the population of Michigan might be 16% African-American, but if they own 9% of them vote, I can't put in 16% of my sample as black because only 9% of the population of the black is going to be voting. So I have to base it on what they do, not what percent of the population they are. Does that help you out?
Yes, it does. Let me ask you about what's going on in Macomb County. You have a young lady that's running against the current guy that's the prosecutor. And then you also have that John James and
Carmelinga. Yes.
What do you think about that?
Well, the bottom line, I have to go back to 2022. What's going to be key in Macomb County? As a matter of fact, in 2016, I was working with Rhonda McDowell, the black chamber of commerce person from Macomb County. Her run for Congress, even though she knew she was not going to win the primary, brought the blacks back to the Democratic Party in the primary, which made Carmelo's race within 1,600 votes because Rhonda turned those blacks back to the Democratic Party because John James was doing a lot of outreach. So in Macomb County, we need the same effort by Keith Williams and the Black Caucus, as well as people like Rhonda Paul in Macomb County to start talking to the black community in Warren and East Detroit and Roseville to bring those back in. If that happens, it could be a very close race. Now in the John James thing here, is right now my problem is that it looks like the party may not give Carmelinga the money that they didn't give him 2 years ago. If that happens, we're going to have the same results we did 2 years ago.
That's unbelievable.
But that's such an important. I mean, the House is going to be so close. How do you see the House? Is the House going to flip back to Democrat this time, or do you think?
I think that's a good chance. Well, here's to explain what's happening with the Democrats committed like $10 million to Michigan here recently, but the problem is they're going to go back to they got to save the 8th district with Kildee race because that race is a lot more Democratic than the Macomb County one. You got the Muskegon they're trying to save, so Carmel might be left on the floor again. Okay, in the case of Pete Lucido and Christina Hines, that's going to depend on on turnout. Okay, if this race was held in 2022, Pete Lucido would have lost by 6 points. If it's like 2020 or 16, then Pete Lucido win because of turnout. Okay, so there again, it's going to be turnout determines if Pete Lucido wins or Christina Hines wins. That's going to be basically Macomb County.
Okay.
So Ed, how do you get results when national polling, state polling suggests people do not give a damn about either one of these two candidates? In addition to that, you have about a 25% rate of people that hate both of them. So how do you take into consideration that there's also a lot of people talking about not voting, particularly young people?
Well, that's nothing new.
Your polling.
I've been doing this for 52 years, and I hear that every 2 years. And it doesn't change, okay? The question is much more obvious about it than it was before. You got to remember back in the 60s was when I started in, late, 68, 72, white, us young people didn't want to vote because of the war, okay? Nothing, right. They're not listening to us. So the bottom line is
you were doing polling back in Herbert Hoover's days, right?
Yeah. Yeah. As a matter of fact, we were using the wireless system during the Lincoln election.
We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna get with Ed Sarpolus. He did FDR, Hoover, Warren Harding, Calvin Coolidge, and we'll be right back.
What's on your mind?
What are the issues facing you and your families today?
Before we ask for your vote, Alyssa Slotkin wants to hear about your concerns.
Democrat Alyssa Slotkin is running for U.S. Senate, and she wants to have a real conversation about your issues.
Is it support for our small businesses, funding for our schools, good paying jobs, or opportunities for our youth?
Alyssa is already building a campaign around listening.
It's how she shapes her agenda in Congress.
And why Alyssa's already been endorsed by small business owners, pastors, and leaders from our community.
We know too many campaigns come to us right before the election and ask for our vote.
That's not Alyssa. She has a reputation for listening and delivering.
And this is your chance to help shape the agenda in Washington.
Make your voice heard. Go to alyssaslotkin.org/community.
Because in this campaign, your ideas come first.
I'm Alyssa Slotkin, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Slotkin for Michigan.
I thought I better jump in. Well, I want to jump in very quickly before we forget it. Is the fact that the possibility, based on turnout, that the House Democrats in Michigan could lose 3 to 7 seats, and thereby giving the Republicans control of the state house after the election. Okay.
What seats are at risk?
Oh, I don't have them in front of me, but the bottom line is most of them are going to be in Macomb County, maybe in Saginaw, and basically one over in Kent County. The problem is the fact that redistricting was designed to make a lot more seats purple. It was not guaranteed to make them guaranteed. So if you've got a close race, as a matter of fact, Lisa Slotkin is highly dependent, like Gary Peters was, on what Biden does. If Biden loses, Lisa Slotkin may not have a shot to win.
Right.
You got to remember, Biden pulled Peters through. Okay, I mean, if you've looked at the polling, the fact that Peters was trailing like everybody else, but Biden finally came through, got that vote back out. Very quickly for history, for those who haven't heard this before, 52% for the last 50 years, except for 1 or 2 elections, 52% of the white vote always votes Republican on election day. Hear what I said? Always. The reason why the Democrats win statewide is because the people of color or ethnic minorities, like the Indian vote or the black vote, comes out in larger numbers. Okay, when John Engler won the state is because of the fact 55% of the white vote voted Republican versus 52. So the bottom line, Michigan Democrats are highly dependent on turnout, especially from people of color or people of minorities. Very important point.
Well, so how is Biden is taking a playbook out of Hillary Clinton in 2016? How's he going to turn this around?
Well, the bottom line, it comes down to issues in Michigan. Every time the Democrats in Michigan, it comes down to the issue called health care, which also includes women's rights on health care. Okay, right now that issue is dropping off the list, so that has to come back up. It has to become in play. The number 2 is the fact there has to be the conversation that Bill Clinton did back when he ran in 92 and 96. He focused a lot of time in Metro Detroit. Okay, if you remember, you young folks, the fact that the same pitch that he did in Macomb County to the whites, he gave to the Cobo Hall black community. You got to have a consistent measure of the black and whites view in that area of the country, that you're speaking to them both equally, not differently.
So how do you see the race right now? What if you had? Is it too close to call, or do you see?
Well, right now it's too close to it's too close to call because it's coming down to Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. There might be a shot in Florida. There might be other things, but the bottom line is too close to call. We'll explain something to you. Remember, we win the presidency based on electoral college, not by majority or plurality votes. But you understand that
what is the shot in Florida?
Right now, because
the Democrats might win Florida.
Well, basically, there's enough congressional districts are moving votes. People are, Trump has made some major mistakes, okay? And so is DeSantis. And so the southern Florida seats that usually used to Democrats now are coming home a little bit. We're seeing that some of the primary races. But the key thing, for example, is when I predict elections, Democrats don't win the electoral college unless they beat the Republican by about an average of 54%, by 4% lead. Hillary lost the electoral college because she only beat Trump by 2 to 3%. So the key thing when I look at presidential races, what is the popular vote has to be nationwide and average of 4 points over the Republican race. Because remember, the Republicans never win the popular vote except for maybe once in almost the last 70 years. But it comes down to by what percent do the popular vote go Democratic. They give the Democrats the popular electoral count. As a matter of fact, what might help Biden right now in the state, RFK Kennedy is basically starting to explode. Okay. He's only like on 9 states right now. His money's starting to disappear. And so bottom line is that it might help Biden right now is the implosion of that. And Cardell, also the fact, hasn't been around very much more. So the bottom line, Biden might be getting help with some of these third-party candidates not getting the exposure. What's happening also in Michigan, what's so key, if you talk to the TV stations, this is one of the lowest spending year by politicians in a long time.
I'm crying because they're not getting the money.
Right, but also, Ed,
that means you don't get more business. I'm just kidding.
You see turnout as a problem because a lot of people I'm talking to, again, they don't care about either one of these guys. So a lot of people are talking about not voting. I'm talking about black and white people. So turnout be a major problem come November.
Yes, right. But the problem is which party has more people staying home, the Republicans or the Democrats, okay? The reason why Biden wants Trump talking because maybe we can suppress more Republican turnout than Democratic turnout. Because typically every election I've ever worked in, I've done over 400 myself personally managing them, I'm always trying to force the other side to stay home. When you look at a voter file, I can tell who stays home. Well, I can tell who's going to win the election because basically people don't switch parties as much as you think. When I go to a voter file and I can say this election, this guy voted and that last night he did. So I know who's Republican or Democrat by who stays home and who shows up. So I can go back and past elections and point that's why I knew 22, all of them that stayed home were Republicans and not Democrats.
Let me ask you this. How do you get people to stay home? If you want one side to win and you don't want the other side to win, how do you get them to stay home? Especially since you said that there's not a lot of money that's being spent in this campaign season. So how's that going to happen? How does that happen?
Basically, because the bottom line, the Republicans just go negative. They don't talk anything positive. Okay. And they force Biden not to talk about what his future is. They force him to be off message. A perfect case of that was Adam Hollier. Okay.
Okay.
On election day, less than half of the people in the 13th district knew even Adam Hollier was, and he spent $7 million.
Right.
All he was attacking Sri Thalander, but never talked about himself. Okay, so the bottom line, he defeated him. He forced blacks and his people to stay home because he never said anything good about himself. He spent $5 million in July and lost because he never said anything about it. It was all attacking on Sri Thalander. So he helped.
Okay. Since we got you on that one, do Mary Waters have a chance?
That depends if Duggan backs up his commitment to her that he's supporting her. Because if he doesn't give her any money, the support doesn't mean anything.
And what about we have Rich Whitmer, who's supposed to be heavily involved in the Biden campaign. Duggan supposed to be involved. Are we seeing much?
They're invisible.
They're invisible.
Let me put it this way: the best example of nothing to pick on the county executive, but he says no one's asked me yet to get involved. Why does someone have to ask somebody who's a Democrat at the top of the ticket in the county? Said they have to be asked. Okay, right. I have yet seen little or which Gretchen or Warren Evans or Duggan of any. It's almost basically no different than Dennis Archer. Okay, it was always waiting to be asked. Okay,
because they didn't want to get involved.
That's right. And right now, remember, we've got to remember Duggan's running for governor. Yeah, remember Duggan's running for governor, and he needs businesses' money to run for governor, so he's not going to piss off the business community.
And Big Gretchen want to run for president, so she's doing her thing. Everybody got an agenda, you know that.
Yeah, but the only one that doesn't have an agenda is Raphael, our county sheriff, because of the fact he may have a tough race because he has that same elderly senior woman running against him again.
There's no question. You think can he lose?
If she gets money, he could lose because I've never seen any polling with strong numbers on him, and he also has his own personal baggage, and he hasn't really done much that I can see tracking the newspaper things in the community like Benny Napoleon used to do to be much more visible.
So do you think this debate on Thursday or comedy show on Thursday, how much of an impact do you think that'll have?
I think it'll have more of an impact on Biden. I think Biden, if Biden basically shows energy, I think that's really going to hurt Trump.
Well, they need to just shoot him with some speed.
That's true.
Grandpa gonna do whatever. Hey, go ahead.
I was just saying, the State of the Union address seemed to be a big boost for Biden. Is that the energy you're talking about for this Thursday?
Yes. Because remember, Biden basically, well, the bottom line, the person who's to speak the longest was to be Bill Clinton. He could go on for 3 hours. People thought it was only 10 minutes. Okay, people like Biden don't have that. Even Barack Obama had to cut back. But Biden demonstrated that he knows what he was talking about, and he took Republicans on. So what it's running with Biden. Biden likes to engage his audience, which he won't have any.
I know audience.
Right.
And so does Trump. Trump also gets high off of an audience. So what I think you're going to see is basically Trump going over to the podium with Biden while Biden's talking to disrupt him, so he can so he can have sound.
And it's interesting you bring that up because the mics will be muted. So one way to take advantage of that would be for him to walk over to Biden while he's talking.
He did that to Hillary Clinton. He started walking behind her like he was stalking her.
I don't think he'll do
Well, he
that,
need
though.
to just slap the shit out of Trump.
No.
He don't have the energy to do that.
Why not?
Hey, wouldn't that be great? We have 2 senior citizen white guys taking off their shirts and going at it.
What is but Ed, what is
Bad boys, bad boys.
Old boys, old boys.
what does Trump have to do to be successful? What is
Keep his mouth shut.
He can't do it.
I know.
He can't do it. Your last word, Ed. This election, November. What? Any surprises?
I think there'll be surprises, but the bottom line, there'll be a lot of positive surprises because I think there's going to get people disgruntled with nothing happening, and we're going to have some other people jumping in to get some excitement going. It happens every cycle. The question is, will it happen here in Michigan?
Right.
Okay, and we're gonna have you back because we got an important election coming up next year, and already the contenders want to run for mayor, and we're gonna talk to you about that. Thank you, Ed.
Next year it's mayor and governor, right?
No, Governor 26.
Oh,
Yeah.
governor 26. Okay.
Thank you, Ed. Ed Sarpolus, Target Insight.
Hey.
Thank you.
Hey,
I said, I got a call the other day to do the Target Insight poll.
Oh, wow.
Man, you know what? This is gonna be big time.
what?
Well, the election. Sure.
It's always big time.
No, it's not always.
Presidential.
It's not always fucking big time.
It's
man.
going to be close. It's going to be a brawl.
Ain't no brawl. You got 2 people. One got arthritis and one is a psycho. That's what we're dealing with.
Well, I mean,
That's
look,
what we
you know,
dealing with.
to be honest, the State of the Union, when I was watching it, somebody called me right when Biden was entering, and I said, let me call you back. I want to make sure he makes it to the podium.
What were you gonna do? Go up there and help him?
Yeah, but I
Your
was like,
television?
Well, Biden remind me of the Atlanta Olympics. With
Well, O.J. Simpson.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, lightning soldier.
Yeah, you know what? But then we got One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest, and you know what?
But see, that's the sad reality about this election. You have 2 terrible candidates, and
But
you
it's
know,
not the first time.
it's not the first time. It's not the first time. But no, these are the worst of mine. These 2 are the worst of mine.
In your
This will be my
lifetime.
11th.
And you're
This will be my 11th presidential election.
what was your first one?
In '84?
84.
84.
With Mondale?
Mondale and
You know what the worst one when I voted in 1972, McGovern and Nixon.
Yeah.
That was the worst. I voted for John Anderson. He was a congressman, a Republican, ran as an independent out of Illinois.
Mhm.
And I begged my mother. My mother used to never tell us how to vote. I knew how she was voting. She was
Right.
going. But anyway, I said, McGovern threw his vice presidential running mate under the bus because they found out that Eagleson, that he had some shock treatment.
Right.
So they went and got Bobby Kennedy brother-in-law, Sergeant Shriver. They was dead. McGovern didn't even win South Dakota, which was his state. He won D.C. in Massachusetts.
Well, Gordon went to Tennessee, and I'm saying.
Well, but Gordon never lived in Tennessee. His daddy was a senator from there, but he was a Washington. Yeah. He was a liberal. He was a white boy liberal from D.C. That's it.
Went to all the private schools like all the presidents.
But we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna talk about Detroit.
Because I live in Detroit, I was able to get tuition-free college through the Detroit Promise. I feel very fortunate working with the Detroit Promise. They were able to afford me so many opportunities. I'm currently studying media production and journalism at University of Michigan Dearborn. I'm looking to take my talents further into the production industry, short films. I love working with people here, and this is where I want to be. And that's why I'm Detroit for life.
Without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life, because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Being unemployed, being depressed, being a burden. Project Clean Slate helped wipe those things away. I can't say thank you enough. I am now able to work for a reputable airline. Detroit had my back, all because I live in Detroit.
Oh, we're back. We're having a great time. We got Vanessa Moss. How you doing, Vanessa?
Hey, hello everybody.
You got Eric Brown. You know Eric started a lot of bullshit.
Of mess.
And he came down
the other day. I'm like, oh my God. You notice Adolph and I set it out. We was like, we're gonna let y'all two go at it. We're gonna let y'all two go at it.
Crossfire.
Right. And then Eric says, well, basically, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not telling anybody, I'm not, what do you say? Basically, you have your own opinion, you have yours. I'm not going to try to convince you to have my opinion, but yes, you were. I mean, your text messages were long.
No, mine weren't that long.
No. And both of you guys are arguing about somebody that neither one of you really.
But you know what? I like a debate. I like a debate. I like a debate, and we need a debate, and we need to sit down and talk about what the real issues are, because we got a city now. Everybody's saying, "Oh, Detroit is back." The train station. I was here at McShane's last week. Guy came in. I haven't been to Detroit in 40 years. What's it? I'm here. Man, shut the fuck up. You know what? He could be here in 40 years. He talk about, where was Tiger Stadium at? Was it the Newport? Whatever. Bastard. You know, the stadium was right there where the baseball field was.
You were sitting at the bar here at Michelle?
Yes, I was. You know what? There's no question. And he came. I just walked in. And you know what? Because if I had some, then I really wouldn't. I didn't say anything. But he was talking about, I went to the train station. Detroit is back. I knew it was coming back. But guess what? That Matty Maroon, I said, let me shut up, because Matty Maroon was my guy. That was my guy. But the bottom line is, I didn't be here in 40 fucking years. Where's Tiger Stadium? You know, and I stopped riding the People Mover one time. I was on the People Mover, and these women was on there. And this was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. They were saying that used to be there, that used to be there. I didn't say anything. There was a older white guy, and these were white women, and they said, "Oh, it's a damn shame about Detroit and stuff." And he sat there. He said, "Y'all need to get the fuck off." That's what this old white guy. He said, "If you miss all this shit, you need to pay for it." You know what? They got the hell off. And I said, I'm never riding the people mover again. So you know what? When people say stuff is happening, stuff is happening. Until and we got a lot of land and stuff. And I was reading where the city council is mad at the land bank.
Right.
They had Tammy Daniels here.
Right.
Land bank said we're taking half of this vacant land
Right.
and we're gonna develop it, do build new neighborhoods.
Right.
City council say give it to the people, let them buy the lots. What are you gonna do? What you gonna have 5 vacant lots and put a fence around it? You got listen. You tell me, Allan.
Look, you know what?
There has to be.
They need to be building subdivisions. You go to Sarasota, Florida. They'll build up neighborhoods, but we got something that a lot of these cities don't have. We got land. We got land.
I'll tell you the thing that bothers me. If you go like on Selden, you go on Brush Park or whatever, and you see, these expensive developments like 2-bedroom, $500,000, $800,000, and you know what? If you go to Chicago, you pay that same amount of money, but when you go outside, there's Trader Joe's, there's a 24-hour.
There's a Best Buy.
There's a coffee. The amenities are not, you have public transportation everywhere. And, the amenities here are not there. There's expensive right across from Honeybee Market.
We got Billy Bob Coney Island. We got all kind of bullshit.
$2,000 for small little apartments. And what do you do when you walk out? I mean, you've got Honeybee Market, you've got a little bit of Mexican town there, but you don't have really the amenities of a real city, and they're charging top rate, for that stuff.
And even the new businesses downtown are shutting down already. They're not able to sustain the new businesses.
And the question's going to be, what's going to happen with the Hudson's building? I mean, here you've got a lot. I mean, you have less people working downtown now since you have less people working downtown. The office buildings are not nearly as full as.
This is what we got to do. If we can bring Saks used to be at the new center.
Right.
If you bring some of these shops, listen, I travel a lot. I go to smaller cities. They got 2 and 3 they got 2 TJ Maxx, 3 Targets, whatever. And Detroit can't even get a damn. All we got is Dollar Store. That's all we got is Dollar Store.
The Rite Aid closed on Woodward.
They closed them more.
No, Rite Aid, they
closed them anyway.
They closed them all, yeah.
Initially, because of the problem Allan talking about,
they stealing everywhere, man. They stealing everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking that.
Where?
I mean, I'm like, oh.
I feel the same way. I go in there and I started going to CVS on Warren.
I put my hood face on, right?
Yeah, because there's crazy guys in there, and security guys are just standing there, and there's crazy people walking through it, talking shit, and you're like, yeah.
But Allan asked an interesting question, or one of you just said it. What's the future of Detroit? But that question has to also be included with a disclaimer. Schools after Duggan leaves,
they got to pay the bill is due. The bill is due, and when we got a new mayor, they're gonna have to pay the bill. And it's like you defer the payment 2-3 years or whatever. Like that Empire Carpet commercial. You don't pay until 2028, and then you get the carpet in your shit. Then 2028 come, you are worn out the carpet and shit. You
a bunch of money.
That's right. I do think that if Duggan was to become the governor of the state of Michigan, I think he's going to have a great amount of impact and influence on whoever becomes the mayor.
Is it going to be?
No, but the governor is after the mayor's race, though. The governor is after the mayor's race. Is
it going to be a slam dunk? You got Jocelyn Benson. You got Garland Gilchrist. You got Hackle. You got Hackle.
And Johnson lives in the D, and I don't know if you watching the show.
You like
the
Hackle?
way that Secretary of State
You like
office is
Hackle?
running,
You like Hackle?
no.
I'd say if I had to bet, if I were a betting person, I would bet on Duggan if he runs for governor. I would say he'd have the best shot. He's the smartest.
What about
He's
Garland
a
Gilchrist?
smart politician. Garland. I think
have a
Garland's a
chance.
very smart guy. He's got some profile, but he's not.
But you know what? He should have
I don't
went.
know that
He should have
has-
went rogue.
No.
He should have went rogue when he got
always tell people to
reelected.
go rogue, right?
That's right, because he couldn't get rid of him because you know what? Stabenow them made a bad deal.
I agree.
No, you know what? And I ain't mad at Alyssa Slocklin because that's the way the game is played.
Right.
But if I was Garland Gilchrist sitting there,
I'm like, what the fuck about me?
I want the fucking seat.
Right.
You know what?
Me. Right.
Now, if you don't appoint me, I'm going to listen. There was a time when the lieutenant governor and the governor ran separately, and we had a Democrat governor, a Republican lieutenant governor, and vice versa. But they changed all that. But we got it in North Carolina where the
Well, you got that wacko-ass brother.
who's a Republican running for governor. Now,
Right.
he's crazy than a fuck.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but anyway,
Yeah.
There seems to be a running thing with the people running for office. I certainly hope that people don't think that I'm crazy.
You crazy. We're gonna
What
is your final thought? And we go around the
My final thought is I think we have some crazy candidates out there. Matt DePerno is running. They can't bid for Supreme
How
Court.
he gets on the dog?
He faces felony charges for tampering.
And he's on the ballot.
He's
on the ballot.
Well, he wants to be on the ballot. I think I don't know how they work. The
Supreme Court,
thing-
the conventions, the conventions, the Republican Democrat conventions select who could be the.
Right. They need to change that.
Yeah, they need to change that
They need
bullshit.
to change
Same with
that.
the school board.
Vanessa, your final thought.
Oh, stay hydrated. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay tuned for Vanessa Moss for 36th District Court. Write-in campaign. We're having a meeting today. So those that are
What's
watching
the
already
strategy
know.
for that? How do you?
She don't tell that.
Why would I do that, Allan?
All right. Well, I just thought
Big Al.
I realized it's confidential.
Eric Brown.
Top
Your
secret.
final thought.
My final thought is just that people tune in on Thursday at 9 p.m. CNN. And it'll be covered by other networks as well. They let them borrow their feed.
9 p.m.
Come on now, the debate.
Is it 9 p.m. or 8 p.m.?
It's at 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
You know, which is a distance. I would not miss that joke fest for the life of me.
Oh, well, but anyway.
But hopefully they will have a live stream where type in his.
But you know what? I'm gonna say this about her. He's passionate. You're a Sigma, right?
I'm a Kappa. What the fuck?
I had to say that.
He
But
did that on
I'm
purpose.
from the
You know
city.
that.
I'm not a farmer.
Well, anyway,
That's fine.
and my final
That's not
thought
good,
is
Eric.
thank you, Ed Sarpolus, Teresa. Where's Jim? Where in the world is Jim Narconi? He need that. He
Where
playing
in the
golf
world
up in
is
Clare, Michigan. You know, he had a great time.
Is that where he is?
We don't know where he is. Where in the world is Jim? Listen, thanks, Allan. Thanks, Eric. And Vanessa, you get the last word. Okay, bye-bye.
Have a wonderful weekend. That's it.